It's Holden, it's Mangone, and in for Keg today, Spread Astaire from Run Pure Bets. Now, I'm going to guarantee you, Spread, that nobody has told you what the promo code is on the bet side. Is it possible that you know what the promos are?
Yeah, get bets. Get bets if you're signing up for Run Pure Sports.
Oh.
Bets 25 off if you only want to become a member of the bet side. But why would you do that when you have access to so much information on both sides? Travis and I constantly talk about how well these things correlate, knowing the DFS and then knowing the bet side. It's made me such a better NBA capper, talking to these guys, learning the rotations and learning who eats the usage when people aren't in. So I think you should get both. I will go to Run Pure Sports, use the promo code, get bets. But, if you only want to become a bets member, it's bets 25 off.
And I'm already 0 for 1 betting on the day because I bet myself that we'd have no idea what it was. Spread knows 100%. What's going on in your world, Mangone?
Oh, yeah. I was sitting there, trying to get to the window to bet on Spread to get this right. I knew he knew it because I was on the bet show with him yesterday and we talked about it. So I was trying to get to the window real quick in live bet, but, the DK Sportsbook, they were too quick. They closed it down on me. But, excited to be here. Excited to talk with Spread. He does the daily rundown on the Run Pure Bet side, talking NBA. He also talks NFL. So be sure to check that out on the Bets Side YouTube channel. If you're not subscribed there, what are you doing? If you're subscribed here, you should be subscribed to both. Check out all the content that we have. We got all the winners for you and excited to break down this NFL DFS and betting slate.
A nice little hit on the Maction last night too. So here's the games we're going to get into. For those of you that are new to the show, we pick out 6 games and then talk about Thursday Night Football. So 7 games. We'll talk about it from a betting side, and we'll talk about it from a DFS side. And the games today, Chargers, Vikings, Falcons, Cowboys, Bucks, and football team. Browns, Patriots, Panthers, Cards, Eagles, Broncos, Thursday Night Football as well. So Spread, we usually start off on the bet side with this, and we do have the Chargers and the Vikings, and this is a 2:05 game, so we're starting a little bit later here, but I find this to be maybe the most fascinating game on the schedule. The Chargers cannot stop the run. Dalvin Cook's a good running back. Zimmer keeps saying they need to get him the ball more. And on the other side, you've got the Chargers going up against the Vikings defense. I don't think anybody should really be afraid of. It's Vikings +3 on the road. The total here between 52.5 and 53. Give me the lowdown on the Vikings at the Chargers.
Yeah, I'm glad we started with this one because this is my favorite play of all the games on the agenda today. I like the Los Angeles Chargers to go ahead and get things done against the Minnesota Vikings, a team that seems to consistently come up short, even though their metrics reflect very well upon the team. The results just aren't there. 3-5, they could easily be 5-3, even 6-2. A couple of different things don't go their way. But why does this constantly happen to this team? Well, look who the leader is. The quarterback, Kirk Cousins, consistently has had problems not getting it done. Cousins 1-5 on the West Coast in his career. That's going to be tough for him to overcome as well. And let's talk about the Chargers' deficiency here. The run, the inability to stop the run. That's going to be rough going against Dalvin Cook. Yes, it's true, but I do believe the way you stop the run in the new NFL, you don't get a bunch of old, slow linebackers like the Steelers used to have, right? You get that lead and you force the opposing offensive coordinator to have to throw the ball. I do trust Justin Herbert, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Austin Eckler to go ahead, put those points up, get the job done on the board. And the Vikings, pretty rough injury report as well. Hunter, their best pass rusher, out for the year. I don't know if they are able to get the pressure on Herbert. You give him that time, he's going to carve you up. I like the Chargers here to cover the 3.
Ooh, last 2 weeks I bet on the Chargers. Lost the first one, won last week. The one thing we know, though, Spread, they play close games. Mm-hmm. Every game comes down to the last possession. It's a field goal trier. So you're feeling good. If you can get this even at 3, you're taking it.
Yeah, I like it even in 3. I see some 2.5s, and I do think there will be buyback. I think the Vikings will be a popular position because when you run their numbers through the metrics, they're going to come out very good. They're going to come out way better than any other 3-5 team in the NFL. So I'm going with a little bit of eye test here. And also one thing, I do not think the books properly account. I constantly hear the Chargers don't have a home field advantage because they don't have the people in the crowd cheering for him, right? It's still the travel from Minnesota to Los Angeles. And of course, still the potential pitfalls of a young team going to Los Angeles and having all that fun after being stuck indoors in Minnesota all week. So I do think the Chargers' home field advantage is a little bit underrated and undervalued by the books. And so there's another thing that I want to take advantage of, betting the Chargers in this game.
All right, let's talk about this from a DFS side. Mangone, the total a little bit over 50. So we got a high total of what, 52 and a half now, 53. I had an interesting conversation with a beat writer this week, Fernando with the Chargers. And I was like, hey, dude, what's going on with Mike Williams? Right. And he said, I'll tell you what's going on with Mike Williams. He was hurt for a couple of weeks and now everybody's doubling him. And that's why Keenan Allen's having these big games now. So I don't know when that's going to change or if that's going to change. Do you have a preference? Are you even thinking about playing Williams or Allen this week? And what about the rest of the team?
Yeah, I mean, I think Williams and Allen make sense more in tournaments when you're stacking this game up, which I do think this is a good game to stack up. I talked about Hunter being out last week, Holden, right? I said this is going to be pretty important. This is why I love this Lamar Jackson stack, ran back with a Jefferson or a Thielen. And yeah, it was a hit. It worked out pretty well for me. I do think you are going to see this being another good game DFS wise. The issue is the touchdown equity is very spread out because you got Austin Eckler. Never know if Jackson's going to run one in. Keenan Allen, Mike Williams. You'd never be surprised if Guyton catches a long one. They have 3 different tight ends that can catch the ball out of nowhere. And at the goal line, they definitely love to mix in these really weird looks and try to do some misdirection. And I think that is something that you got to take note of a little bit. I think that Mike Williams he's fine. He's a decent option. I do worry about rostering him. I've been staying away from him because of the injury, because he is a guy that is, when he is injured, it's normally in the middle of the season. And this is a good time to kind of stay away from him, I think, until you feel like he is back and healthier. I do think this Vikings team is one that you can attack. And I think Keenan Allen is my favorite receiver if I have to pick one. I don't think Austin Eckler is a priority on this slate. I think he's a good play, but I think there's other running backs I would prefer. And on the Minnesota side, I don't know. Holden, have you looked into this? I typically don't look into it right away. I wait for the week to develop. Is there any chance Dalvin Cook sits for some of the stuff that he's going through?
Just from what I've heard, it's a civil case and they don't suspend players for civil cases. So
okay, that's what I thought. I had read something that sounded like he's going to be fine and he'll play this week. So if that was not the case, Alexander Madison would be an amazing value. So that's why I was curious. And I figured you'd have that info for me. Dalvin Cook, he could be a good play, but I don't need to go there because I think they're going to be trailing. And I talked about it last week. I did think that you'd see the Vikings throwing the ball a ton. It was the opposite script where they got the lead and Dalvin did fine, but he didn't get his touchdowns. And it was perfectly fine with me because Justin Jefferson scored that quick 50-yard touchdown, which was great. So I do think I'm going to go back to Jefferson and Thielen in my Charger stacks, mainly because Jefferson and Thielen, it's just so obvious that they're going to be getting the ball. Like, it's not like a mix of, will it be Keenan Allen, Mike Williams? Will it be like this random tight end? They always get their work in these games where they're trailing or in these games where they're throwing the ball. And I just think it's just such an easy guess. So I do want to play Chargers. And I think the run back is really easy with the Vikings. And it's in a dome and the total has gone up. A lot of things are going the way that I love this game in tournaments, Holding it. I don't know if it's my favorite one on the slate, but I like it a lot.
Yeah, you got to figure out if it's Jefferson or Thielen. If you go with both, I mean, Thielen has been the number one there over the last 3 weeks. But they could have some success too. And then as far as the Chargers tight end position, don't bother with Jared Cook at this point. It's Parham or Johnson. It's just a mess.
Holden, I would say this week, I think it's Thielen. And the reason why I think it's Thielen is because Justin Jefferson is, if you had to pick, he's probably more of the deep threat guy. And what do the Chargers do? The Chargers do not want to give up the deep ball. They want to give you a lot of the short yardage stuff. Of course, that makes it great for Dalvin Cook, where they might run a ton with him and really just establish it. That could be one of the worries, and the clock bleeds out. We'll see how the game plays out. But if I have to pick a receiver, I lean Thielen slightly. I will have exposure to both. But the reason I lean Thielen is because the Chargers really prioritize not giving up that big play. And if they do that a ton and they let the team kind of get downfield and they get into the red zone, well, in the red zone, who does Kirk Cousins look to a ton? He looks to Adam Thielen. And I just think he's the better option this week. But again, I like both. If you have a lean on Jefferson over Thielen, I won't tell you you're wrong. I think sometimes we like to be very definitive and say, this is the guy you have to play this week. Sometimes it's just kind of gray, Holden, and it's okay that it's a little gray, but you just know it's either Jefferson or Thielen, and get exposure to both in your tournaments. Just get overweight on both in your Charger stacks.
All right, so thanks for hanging out with us for this show today. We really appreciate it. And RPS Heater 25% off your first payment on a monthly subscription. Get bets, throw the bet side in. You get everything for $100 plus the 25% off. So the first month will be what, $75 if my math is right. Also, you get the NBA cores on our side. The golf has been hit. I mean, everything's been hitting lately. NHL. I don't know how to pronounce Mike's name, but HNATIUK, Natick, maybe? Mike Nate, 16K in the NHL. People sleep on the NHL, man. Our boys kill it. Slick Dorella, NBA, 25K. T Mr. 06. How do these guys come up with their names, by the way? 67K. Mike J, 118K in the NBA. Wow, that's like 200K worth of stuff there. Amazing. And then in the NFL, we had a 30K Showdown winner, and Matt S. And here we go with Mike again. He's having a good week. 16K in the NHL, $500,000 in the NFL Showdown. You get all our Showdown content too. It's nothing you have to buy. Outside of that, it comes with the package. Okay, next game to get to, spread a stare. Atlanta at Dallas. I really do expect Dallas to get their S together and wake up here. The question is, do they blow the Falcons out? Because I'm seeing an 8 at DK. I'm seeing 8.5 at BetMGM. I'm seeing a 9 at BetRivers. I'm seeing 54.5 the total here. Give me the lowdown on the Falcons, the Cowboys. Can you start with the total? Because this thing is pretty high at 55.5. And I just wonder if the Falcons are going to have enough to push that total over.
Yeah, total 55.5 makes sense. This is a very high total though, right? With two high-powered offenses here. Falcons started very slow. Matt Ryan looking a little dusty, to use a term that I know they love on the DFS side. Matt Ryan looking dusty, getting back into form here. Think that he's a little bit underrated. And of course, Travis will talk about Cordero Patterson, who continues to prove what a weapon he is. He's helping them augment the loss or offset the loss of Calvin Ridley, which we know was rough. Kyle Pitts, what a great talent as well. I think the key to this Falcons team, and the reason that they have got better, though, is the improved play of the defense. Looking much better. Of course, they held New Orleans to 25. That was against a backup, but still a very good performance. Even in the loss to Carolina, they only gave up 19 here. A shootout against Miami gave up 28, but this defense has been a little more stout, giving Ryan and his offense more opportunities here. This is such a tough play to make, right? Dallas 7-1 against the spread. Should be a great bounce back spot for this team. But at the same time, do I want to lay more than a touchdown here? Dallas Cowboys, they've been very good covering the spread, but I do think the Falcons are a tad bit undervalued. Not one of my favorite plays on the board, but, you know, in those pick 'em pools that we do, we have so much fun. You pick every game. I'm going to go ahead and take the points with the Atlanta Falcons.
So how many people got trashed last week with Dallas and the Bills?
Right.
Like 90% of the people I know are done with Survivor.
Yeah.
It was just absolutely shocking. We're starting to see these a little bit more now. The Jets over the Bengals, and we got these two games last week. Mangone, almost a 32 implied total for Dallas. Get your thoughts on Dak this week. Zeke Elliott back in the mix again. CeeDee Lamb, who has, I think he's just a tournament option at this point, to be honest with you. That lower, it was probably an ankle. That's bothering him a little bit. And is there anybody from the Atlanta side you like? Kyle Pitts, maybe. I thought it was a big adjustment against Carolina. They covered him with a corner. I think we saw it again last week with Lattimore. And I don't know if Dallas does the same thing, but it's worked 2 straight weeks against Pitts, Mango.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still can't get over Atlanta beating the Saints in Survivor, Holden. I dodged
that too. Oh my God, that's right.
I took the Saints. I dodged all the other bullets. I did a great job. And then, of course, the Saints, they get the lead, and then I just got it ripped out from me from Cordell Patterson. So you rub some salt there without knowing. But hey, let's keep moving on, and let's talk about the Falcons and DFS. I think since you started talking about it, it's like a 55 total hold, and it's obviously one we need to get exposure to. And like it was 52.5, and now it's up to 55.5. I mean, this thing just keeps climbing, and I'm in complete shock, especially with how bad the Dallas offense looked last week. And I'm starting to think, okay, is Dak okay? Like I thought maybe he wasn't as healthy, but Vegas thinks otherwise. They think he's still fine and it'll be okay. which sure, this happens sometimes. Teams just lay a real bad egg and they come back the next week with a good one. I do think Ezekiel Elliott's going to be a really good option in your cash games and in your tournaments. Dak Prescott at 6'9" is just too cheap. You got CeeDee Lamb there, Amari Cooper. I think these are guys you need to be considering in DFS, and I would not be ignoring. I actually don't even mind the Dalton Schultz look. It is a really expensive price tag, but tight end is a bit gross. And if you're doing your game stack, sometimes it's nice just to throw the tight end in there to get it out of the way. So I don't mind going to a Dalton Schultz there, even at 5K on DK. I think that just makes you completely unique and different right away, because I don't think anyone is going to be like, yeah, let me play Dak Prescott, like Amari Cooper, and then throw Dalton Schultz in there, because that price tag is just so expensive. On the opposite side, here's another way to make yourself different within this stack, Holden. Typically when people stack up Matt Ryan, what are they going to do, Holden? What do you think they want to do in their stacks?
You tell me. What are we doing here? A little I don't know what we're doing. I don't know if I want to have a stack.
Well, Holden, what does everyone do when they play the quarterback? They immediately plug in a receiver or a tight end. Why don't you just run a small stack, or a skinny stack as people call it, where it's only one run back on the Falcons and then one on the Cowboys?
Okay.
Why don't you run Matt Ryan with Cordell Patterson and Ezekiel Elliott? And I'll explain a little bit. That means the Cowboys are leading. They're home favorites, 8.5. And you're not playing any wide receivers, but Ezekiel Elliott could easily dominate on the ground. And Cordell Patterson is technically a receiver, right? He's not a running back. So if you throw in a quarterback with two running backs, that's instantly making your stack unique. You're playing a quarterback with a running back as the run back and a running back with his stack, that people will be like, well, why don't you throw a receiver in there? Why don't you throw Kyle Pitts in there? Well, everyone's going to want to go that route. You're just making a completely unique Cowboys-Falcons stack that is already actually pretty sharp, because Cordell Patterson, he's not exactly a running back now. He is a receiver in this offense. He's kind of both. He's just an offensive weapon. And I think that's a really sharp stack that you can build. Yes, it is Matt Ryan. It's not the most comfortable stack, but it is one of those weeks where if you look around, you don't have like amazing quarterbacks. You have Jalen Hurts, who always finds a way to get there, but he is against the Broncos. And I do think it's a spot where he could dud a bit. You got Josh Allen against the Jets, where I mean, they could be really big favorites and run the ball a little bit more. I don't think that game's going to interact as well. And listen, the Jets could easily like keep this game a bit closer, and Josh Allen just doesn't have a great game, because I don't think he's been so great lately. And ultimately, I think that this is a week where you don't need these running quarterbacks like Lamar Jackson for like a 40-point ceiling, right? You don't have a Kyler Murray in a shootout spot early in the year when he's not banged up. So I think a guy like Matt Ryan could make some sense on this slate.
Let me jump in here with an injury report that I'm going to be monitoring before I make a play, either on taking, the points here or going over. It's Tyron Smith. I think they missed him a lot last week. He was out last week, and you say, oh, people were surprised. As someone who caps, I know Travis and them are all up on the outside when they're dealing with the injury reports, right? On the bet side, we're all about the inside. We're all about defensive linemen and offensive linemen being out of the game. Not as surprised that they struggled without their leader, because that goes from a position of strength. Tyron Smith, arguably one of the best tackles in the league, right? The drop-off is pretty severe just because he's so good. Even though his backup isn't the worst, he's still an average backup level tackle. Huge drop-off there for the Cowboys. I'd keep an eye on that information before you committed to either a Dallas stack or the over bet.
Okay. Right, that's a good call there. And the reason I want to call that out is I last week saw that news, and I had some action on some Zeke stuff, and I was like, not that I wasn't getting off him in DFS cash games, because he was just so high owned. It wasn't a big deal, I felt like. But I was thinking about it, and I was like, man, like, this is not new news, but like it feels new, right? I mean, I was like just in complete shock that it wasn't talked about a little bit more, or like any worries. So I'm glad to hear that you were kind of thinking of that last week, because I got some real cold feet about some of the Cowboys before that game. And then, of course, the Broncos just went out and absolutely dominated on the ground and made their offense look really terrible.
Let me just throw this out at you, too. They've got 3 games in 12 days, the Cowboys do. They're not going to practice Tyron Smith, so we'll see if he plays. We're not going to know much about him. Zeke had the knee. He still averaged 5 yards per carry. Cooper has the hamstring. Michael Gallup, I think. I mean, we're going to see some Michael Gallup maybe. There's so many question marks. I can't bet this thing right now. This is one of those games where I got to wait and see. I'm glad you brought up Smith spread, but condensed games, injuries, guys like Cooper with soft tissue with those hamstrings. That concerns me.
Hold in real quick. This is you said it's 3 and 12 days. Is this Sunday the first one? Because I'm guessing it's like the Thanksgiving game is why that's happening,
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
So this is the first of the 3?
Yeah, I want to say it is. Let's see here. So they got a game this week. Yes, this is the first of the 3. Falcons, Chiefs, Raiders.
Wait, the reason I asked this, Holden, I think it's very important, is when you hit that second game, so I guess the Chiefs one, if there are injuries going into the Thanksgiving game, listen, that's a big game, right? I mean, Jerry loves that game. It's huge for him. They're gonna play it like it's the Super Bowl, but if there's a guy that like maybe could use a couple days, they're gonna give him a couple days, I think. So that's something to monitor, I guess, in a week or 2.
Yeah, I like the. I mean, maybe where are we here? Spread. We don't tease 8 down, do we? Yeah, 8-2, 8.5 down to 2.5. We could tease that down. Goes through 7 and 3, right? Is Dallas a potential teaser?
Yeah, I would think so. Like I said, I'm waiting on that injury news. I would completely stay away if Smith is out from the Dallas side and from the over. And if I just see them bounce. I actually pivot to Atlanta. If he plays, I think that they did a pretty good job with this number.
Wow. I mean, I had to go watch that game 2 times with the Cowboys and Broncos, and I'll say this, that Dak's not that bad. It was just one bad week. He was rusty. He's missing guys that he doesn't normally miss. I'm not worried about him.
That's how I felt, because I saw him run and he looked fine early on. I saw that 7. He looked fine. I was like, okay, he doesn't look terrible, but I didn't have the game on all the time. So that was what you watched, I think, the whole game, right? So you probably
twice. I had to watch it. And boy, that was just an abortion for the Cowboys last week. You don't see teams play that badly that are that talented. That might be the worst game they play this year. So let's move on to a kind of a sexy game from one side, and the other side is not good. Tampa Bay at Washington. Spread a stare. Little Tom Brady action going into Washington. So many times this year we've looked at these games on paper, say, oh, it should be a blowout. The one guy I have more confidence in than anybody else is this guy. Now, Tom Brady. Now, Godwin might not play. You already have AB out, so they could be down to Evans and a bunch of whiteys, I guess is what we're going to say here. 9.5 is the spread. 51.5 is the total. What can you share about the Bucs and the football team?
Yeah, so, I lean towards taking the points in the last game we discussed. I am the opposite here. This football team has given you nothing to be excited about. And, people might hang their hats on the great performance that the football team put up against the Buccaneers in the playoffs last season, right? As they were the closest to beating Tampa out of any of the teams that they faced during that postseason run. Hey, let them go ahead and use their memory and skew their ideas of what this football team is, because they are nowhere near playing at the level that they were last season. This defense has been terrible. The front four getting it done, linebackers below average, secondary dreadful. It's a very bad matchup here. And what does this football team need to do with a guy like Taylor Heineke? They're going to need to get him in good positions. We do not want to be at 3rd and long. Are they going to be able to run to put themselves in that position? Not against Tampa Bay's top-rated run defense. I think this is actually a terrible matchup for them. And don't think that they haven't heard the whispers, right? First of all, Tom Brady would get up to play a game of chess against me at 3 a.m, right? He's going to get up for every game. So I don't necessarily buy motivational issues with him. But as far as the rest of the team and Arians being able to use this playoff game from last year, I think this team comes in ready to rock. And if there's any team that I'm confident laying these big spreads with, it's this Tampa Bay Buccaneers team, who just, they have so many offensive weapons. And unlike McVay, right, Arians will run them down till the end there. So I'm pretty excited about laying the 9.5 here with Tampa. On the total here, usually I don't like to lay it and go under, but this is a spot. I don't trust this Washington football team to go ahead and put up points on the board against this defense. Maybe a little prevent at the end could backdoor the over there for you, but I like the under here. I think Tampa Bay scores, shuts down the Washington offense, and gets an easy win.
All right, Mangone, let's go to the other side here. This is probably going to be Mike Evans chalk week, right? Especially if Godwin does miss.
Yeah, I mean, if Godwin misses, everyone's going to be on Mike Evans for good reason. He will likely have a really good game. I also don't want to sleep on Leonard Fournette in the run game, because I do think you might see him lean on that a bit more. I do like the Brady stack. I'm still going back and forth on how to handle it, because I feel like a lot of people might gravitate towards Brady and Evans now, because they're just going to know. They're going to be like, listen, like Mike Evans is going to have a great game probably. Let me pair it up with Brady. And then, I don't know, I have leaned on not doing the double stacks as much this year, just because I don't always want to just guess who it is. And like, I don't know, I feel like you can kind of take like a bad play if you do that. And I've been playing more FanDuel tournaments where I feel like the double stack isn't as necessary over there. But if I do a double stack, I wouldn't mind doing it with Leonard Fournette. And yes, Leonard Fournette could easily just run a bunch of touchdowns in, but he also could catch some. I could see them using him more in the pass game. They're not going to use Giovanni Bernard as much. They like to use him, I think, when they're trailing, unless maybe they give him a couple, routes in like the slot out of nowhere. But I think that Leonard Fournette with Brady and Mike Evans, it's not like naturally a stack that you would think to do with Brady, because typically when Brady has a big game, he passes the ball a ton, right? And you're going to want to pair it up with Godwin or Antonio Brown, but we don't have them. And I don't know if I want to guess with, is it Scotty Miller? Is it Tyler Johnson? I would probably guess Cameron Brate instead, who's had 4 targets in the last 3 weeks. And it helps take up that tight end position for a cheap salary. So I don't think I'm going to play the guessing game of Scotty Miller or Tyler Johnson. I think I'd rather try and go to a Brate or a Leonard Fournette to finish out my full-on double stack if I go that route. And then thinking about the run back, yes, I do think that they're going to struggle to run the ball a ton. If they are going to struggle to run the ball a ton, what is the Washington football team going to do? Well, they're going to be passing, and it's going to be to who? It's going to be to maybe Terry McLaurin, but maybe I don't want to spend that salary on Terry McLaurin. Maybe I want to go to JD McKissic, where, again, that's something that you could be a little bit different with if you need a cheap running back. And, man, McKissic has been really, really good. If you look, especially when they're losing, he just gets peppered with targets, especially on a site like DraftKings at 5.2K. I think a McKissic run back is a really sharp route to go, especially with Antonio Gibson dealing with that shin injury. And yes, of course, they had the bye week. I'm sure Gibson's feeling a little bit better, but I'm sure they're not just running Gibson into the ground. And they're okay with using McKissic even when Gibson is healthy. So I think he's a really sharp, like Millie Maker type of play at the running back position. And then if you want to go McLaurin and have the salary, sure, but I don't think I'm going to spend my money up on him. I'd rather go to maybe a Logan Thomas. But I think McKissic is my favorite run back option, as crazy as that sounds.
Mike Evans, 4 games without Godwin since Tom Brady came to town. 8.5 targets, 6 receptions, 80 yards, a touchdown, and 20 PPR points. So, now I kind of feel like that's his floor, 20 PPR points this week going up against them, but we'll see. RPS Heater 25. That is our code for 25% off your first payment on monthly installments. You get NBA, you get NFL, you get everything. I mean, just hockey. What else did we just do? We had, we got golf, everything, anything that you want to bet on, anything that you want to play DFS for, UFC, college basketball just launched. I had a nice night last night. I'm so happy college hoops is back. I know Spread's a big NBA guy. I'm a huge college basketball fan. I follow the NBA. It's my job, but boy, college basketball is back. Stevie did a great job last night. Make sure you check it out. Spread Astaire, Mr. Astaire. We've got the Browns and the Patriots. This is interesting. Now Keg picked this game out. I want to do not blame me for picking this game out. I am throwing Keg completely under the bus on this one. Is it even on where the hell is the line now? I'm scrolling up trying to find this. There we go. Okay. Browns plus 1.5 on the road. You got a total of 45 in this game. And you know what? Whenever OBJ is out, Baker Mayfield doesn't look too bad. Does he, Spread?
That's a great point. And what we've seen is that he does try to force it to him to keep him happy and not necessarily always using the best available options here. I think without the pressure to force feed him when he's not necessarily always open, his dad would think very contrary to that statement, right? But I'm sure we could find plenty of videos where Baker forced it in there as well if we took the same time that Odell's dad did. Here's where I'm glad you referenced me being an NBA guy, because I'm going to use a line that we use quite often on the NBA show, and that is we're going to have to wait for the news. Nick Chubb means so much to this offense. Popped a positive COVID test this week. And I think that he means just as much to this offense as Derrick Henry did to the Titans. Now, the Titans were able to overcome it, but I don't know if I trust Cleveland in this situation. Chubb really seems to be the heart and soul of this offense. And I'd say behind Derrick Henry, second most effective running back in the NFL this season. He just means so much to this team. The Patriots can be attacked through the air, but guess what? A similar trend we've seen this season after season with the New England Patriots. The defense gets better as the season continues here. If Nick Chubb is out, I will lay it with the Patriots. Otherwise, I lean towards the Browns. My guess is Keg put it on here because he wanted to take the Browns, but my guess is he already sent that news or sent that game in before we got the news of the positive test.
Spread. Can I just bring something up real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
The Chubb was out. Hunt was out. Dearness Johnson ran for 146 yards and 2 touchdowns against the Broncos. So I will respectfully disagree with you on the Nick Chubb comment. Johnson is a very talented back too. He's not to Nick Chubb's level, but they prove they can run the ball without him.
Yeah, I'll give you that. I'll give you that too. I just think that he just brings attitude to the offense. And we know a good offensive line, any of these running backs can run behind a good offensive line. And that's why, you hear the term running backs don't matter because the offensive line is so much more important to your yards per carry than the actual running back himself. So, I will grant you that, but I do think he gives you that little bit of extra burst. And I wonder, in that Broncos game, how close it would have been if Chubb was running behind those holes and not Johnson.
Ooh. All right. So no plays on this one yet.
Yeah, we got to wait for the news here. If Chubb's out, I'll go again. I'll fade Dearness Johnson.
He's out,
as you guys like to say. Is Dearness Johnson out too?
Yeah. No, Dearness Johnson's playing. No Chubb, no Hunt.
So Chubb's out for sure.
Yeah, he's in the
COVID New England Patriots. Give me the New England Patriots
protocol.
Yeah. Give me the New England Patriots. And I just didn't want to do it till I knew for sure because I do think that he's vaccinated and all he needs is 2 negative tests before Sunday. So maybe they're ruling him out. Maybe he's very symptomatic, but I was under the impression that there was still a chance that he could play.
Okay. Let me see here. Nick Chubb to the COVID list. Yeah, let me see here. Dearness Johnson is the only active running back. If Nick, okay. So you're right. It's not 100% that he's out yet, but they did test positive for COVID. So it's definitely heading that way. All right. So Mangone, let's go into the assumption Chubb is out. Dearness Johnson at 4.7K on DK. Auto lock and cash.
Yeah, I think cash and tournaments, as crazy as that sounds. I just think it's too good to pass up. I do think Damian Harris on the opposite side, on FanDuel specifically, I don't want to ignore him. I mean, the price tag over there is 6.3K. So, man, he's got a lot of good touchdown equity within this offense. So I think he's a really, really strong play. I think Johnson, though, is one of those guys you want to kind of lock in this week and just get exposure to. It's just he's just so cheap. It's just you can't ignore it if he's the only running back there. I do want to talk about Jarvis Landry, though. I think Jarvis Landry is another guy that he's going to get some running opportunity. They'll give him a couple of runs on the outside, and even in the goal at the goal line, they might do some trick plays where he throws the ball. So there is a ton of opportunity there for Jarvis Landry. I think he's a great play. I think he's too cheap with Odell not there and the way they're doing this offense. So I think those are two of my favorite plays in this game. I'd say Johnson and Landry, but don't sleep on Damian Harris either. That's another guy I would not ignore. And if you wanted to go Hunter Henry at tight end, I wouldn't hate it, but it's mainly because the tight end position is so bad. And it'd be a guy that maybe you spend a little bit on that makes yourself a little bit different. I wouldn't prioritize him in my build. It'd be one of those things where as I'm building my lineup, or if I'm in the optimizer, I'm going to try and throw him in there to see if I get exposure to him. If I get exposure, great. But I'm not going to prioritize it. I think it's one of those options that he could score a touchdown, make you a little bit different, but I don't want to spend a lot of salary at tight end this week.
The 5th day would be what? Saturday? So you're right, Spread. I mean, he has a chance to play. They are signing dudes off the practice squad. So if Nick Chubb's in there, though, what do you want to do with Chubb, Mangone?
I don't want to play him because at the end of the day, Johnson is going to get work no matter what, I think, even with this, because they are, a coach they're going to do. They say, we're under the impression that we're not playing with Chubb. And of course, Chubb will slide in the offense, but the Browns are perfectly comfortable having a 60-40 split. And I wouldn't be shocked if they do that. So I just think I would stay away from Nick Chubb at that point.
Anything else in this game before we move on?
No, I think that's it. Obviously, the defenses are always in play, but my only worry with these two teams, I think on paper, you want to play the Patriots defense or the Browns. It makes sense. Okay, rookie quarterback, the Browns could get to him. Patriots could easily, get to Baker Mayfield. My problem is I don't know if there'll be enough passing going on in this game. At the end of the day, running does not get the job done for you when you play the defenses. You want your quarterback dropping back constantly, so that way he has chances to make errors, and I worry that you're not getting enough opportunity there.
Spread, hang in there for a second, buddy. I'm going to go to this next game. I'm going to go to Mangone on the DFS side. This could be a quick one. Panthers at the Cardinals. Carolina plus 10.5 on the road. 44 is the total. So we saw CMC come back and get, what was it, 19 touches, 20 opportunities. So he's still 8-4 going to Arizona. You're not going to have Darnold. Is this a McCaffrey week? Do you think people are off of him just because how bad this team is? And then on the Arizona side, I don't even think we can talk about them because we don't know if Kyler Murray's playing yet or not, So to me, the big story here, do you want to run with CMC? And if you have anything else on Carolina at Arizona?
On FanDuel, I struggle at that 9K price tag, especially with touchdown equity being so important over there. 17 total. It is brutal for the Panthers. I think McCaffrey at 8-4 is fine on DraftKings. You can consider him in cash. You can consider him in tournaments, but he's not someone I'm currently jamming in or making a priority. I think it depends on roster construction and if I get there. So I'm good on that. I think James Conner is a pretty good play at 6-3 on DraftKings and 7K on FanDuel because you're going to see no Chase Edmonds. Sure, Benjamin gets an extra week of practice, which maybe he gets a little bit more involved in the offense, but they are 10.5-point favorites. And whenever a running back is a 10.5-point favorite, Holden, you got to consider it, especially when he's going to get a majority of the volume. So don't ignore James Conner, even though it feels a little bit gross. And then, we got to do it because I'm on the show, Holden. Let's just say Robbie Anderson's 4-4. So if you want to take a shot on it, go for it. I probably will not, but man, it is funny that he is 4.4K. I'm just getting a good laugh at that now. And I think on FanDuel, he's 5.2. He's $700 from the flat min over on FanDuel.
How many fantasy points do you get for chewing out your quarterback?
Yeah, I mean,
1.2. He got 1.2 last week.
Yeah, it's not going well for old Robbie over there. That it's because they got to change his picture, his profile picture on FanDuel. They got to change it.
It looks like an island boy.
Yeah, he looks ridiculous over
there. It looks like the island boy with that.
And DJ Moore, he is 6'3", and it feels enticing spread. I don't think you do it, though. I think there's better 6K receivers. Let's just say that right now. Sure, DJ Moore 6'3" feels cheap, but I think there's way better receiver options.
Spread, anything to bet in this game? We don't know what's going on with Kyler. Can they beat the Panthers by 10.5 without Kyler?
Yeah, they probably could, but I'll tell you what, I'm going to quote great Major League Baseball handicapper featured at Run Pure Bets, Joey Work. Give me the points. Give me the plus 10.5. Here's my idea here, right? I grab it right now. If Kyler's out, I love my position, right? Because it probably drops to 7.5. I would say at least 3 that he's worth, right? And then, so I'm grabbing 10.5. And even if he's in there, I still don't mind the play. Here's why. Coming off an injury, I expect Kingsbury to be a little more conservative than he normally would be. Should be more Edmonds, should be more Connor, assuming they both play. I know Edmonds missed last week, assuming he's back in there, but we should have a lot of running in this game. I expect a more conservative offense than usual. Carolina does have a pretty good defense. And then on the other side, right, we talk about PJ Walker stepping in for Sam Darnold. At this point, right, anything's an upgrade over Sam Darnold. I think I could almost be an upgrade over Sam Darnold just because Matt Rule would only call running plays with me as quarterback. But regardless, the old saying, Holden, when I was growing up, a strong running game is a quarterback's best friend. Times change. The rules have changed the game. This is a new NFL. My new saying would be a good check down target is a quarterback's best friend because they run so often. And that's what Christian McCaffrey will provide PJ Walker. I think that does allow them to keep it close. Regardless of the quarterback situation, I'm going to grab the points here with the Carolina Panthers.
Ooh, all right. I like that spread. Going a little bit off the board here. Sam Darnold is out 4 to 6 weeks, so we'll see how PJ Walker performs there. Our last game before Thursday Night Football spread, I'll go right back to you on this one. Eagles and the Broncos, two teams that do not play at a very fast pace. I think the Eagles are 20th, and I want to say the Broncos are one of the 5 slowest teams out there. Then you've got a Philadelphia side where Nick Sirianni, he's an idiot the first 7 weeks because he built the offense around Jalen Hurts' arm. And then in the last 2 weeks, he realized, instead of run the ball 13 times a game, maybe we should run the ball 33 times a game, which is what they've averaged here. So the total is 45. I got a strong lean toward the under 45 right now. -2.5, -3 is the total. But this is a bigger conversation real quick. How big are you into the trends? The Broncos have gone under the total 7 of 9 games. Philadelphia is right around middle of the pack, but what do you think of those trends with the over-under and teams at this point halfway through the season?
I mean, they can be deceptive sometimes, but hey, don't look a gift horse in the mouth. I think there's no reason to think that the trend that you mentioned would not be indicative or predictive of the total here. 7 of 9. We got a nice sample size. It's the current team. It's not one of those ones that, on Monday afternoons with a slight rain, that dates back to like 1994 when the game was played so much differently. It's a trend based on the current performance of this team. I'm with you there on the under. And hey, let me do a quick audition for your Denver City Cast and give you a reason why to bet the Denver Broncos here today. The Denver Broncos are what I consider to be an undervalued team. They had a bad, rough stretch there that I think really caused them to be lower in their mind. Teddy Bridgewater is back to being fully healthy. Judy's back out there, giving them another big weapon to go after. And then let's look at, you talked about Sirianni's change of the game plan, the changing of the guard, so to speak. Probably a smart move, but against Denver, is that going to work? I trust this Denver front seven. I think they're great. If they're having any issues right now, it's in the secondary, and it's only due to injuries. It's not due to roster construction. So they did a great job building and designing this defense. I think Philadelphia is going to have problems. If I tell you that I can force Jalen Hurts to try and beat you with his arm and put you in a position where he has to pass to beat me, I'm very happy with that. Of course, reliant on Bridgewater and these guys to get out to an early start, but I do not trust this Philadelphia secondary. I do trust Bridgewater to take advantage of the opportunities given to him and also not turn the ball over and give Hurts some of those positions that if you watch when Philadelphia does well, it's because the defense is putting Hurts in those positions, getting them an early lead and allowing them to play a little more freely. I think Denver gets it done here. I think Philadelphia was a team that I was pretty high on. They've been absolutely smacked by injuries, especially on the defensive side on the ball. If the Denver can put up points, I think that the Philadelphia offense will have problems scoring. So I like laying the points here with Denver.
Wow. I mean, I'm not trusting in Denver that much, but you make some really interesting points here. I just think the points are going to be tougher to come by just because both teams, Philly wants to run and Hurts is inaccurate. Denver does great against the deep ball. There's a lot going on here. So, Mangone, the inside linebackers are banged up for the Broncos, and you laugh at the names for the Eagles run game, but they are running, and they are running a lot. Jordan Howard and Boston Scott. Either one of these at least show up on your radar in tournaments.
I don't play like the guessing game with like these like really tough situations where it's like, is it Boston Scott? Is it Jordan Howard? Like, I could understand playing the guessing game, right? If it's a 54 total, it's a 44.5. Like, what are we doing here? Why are we playing this in DFS? And on the other side, Melvin Gordon, Javonte Williams, what's going to happen? They're just going to try their best. If Denver gets up, they're going to try to pound the rock a ton, play ball control. Now, if Teddy Bridgewater was going up against like, I don't know, the Chiefs, the Packers, one of these better offenses. I know the Chiefs haven't been as great, or the Chargers, but you get what I'm saying. If they're underdogs, we've seen the Broncos be willing to throw a ton, and I just can't really get behind this Broncos offense right now. The one thing I could maybe get behind, if Noah Fant is out, which Holden, maybe you have the answer on that. Is Fant in or out this week?
I don't think we have a definitive word yet.
Okay, well, if not, I think Albert O is a guy you can go back to again at that 2.6K price tag on DraftKings for your cash games, mainly because he's a decent tight end, will have all the work, and it's just what it gets you for your full lineup. Not exactly just saying, hey, I love Albert O. It's just he's a 2.6 tight end that I think is some of that you could take a shot and it's going to get like between 3 and 6 targets and have some red zone looks. But I do think that this is a game that I do not really want to load up on. I want to stay away from completely. I think one thing I've noticed, I've been playing a lot more MMA, and I think one of my most successful weeks over the past couple of weeks in basketball and NFL was when I really condensed my player pool. And I think people have trouble doing it. I think that's why you've seen Big T be so successful so much over the past year or so. He's really good at just condensing his player pool. And a way to condense your player pool, Holden, is just Xing this entire game and hoping for the best. And I'm going to X this game and hope for the best.
Very nice. Very good to hear, Mangone. Let's make it a lot easier. Not worried about it. I kind of feel like Jordan Howard might be a guy that I at least consider to put in my pool just because they've been giving him goal line touches and stuff. But you're right. I mean, it is a guessing game. Who knows? Maybe Boston Scott gets those plays. Maybe this game ends up.
Hold on, why would you do that on DraftKings, right? On DraftKings, where PPR is so important.
That's a FanDuel play.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So FanDuel, I could understand because that price tag helps unlock a lot, right? But what if Johnson is in there? You just play Johnson instead, or instead of playing Jordan Howard, I'm telling you, people will still not play Damian Harris enough. Like, just play Damian Harris at 6.3K on FanDuel. It's just a crazy price tag for him. He should probably be priced up to 6.8 at this point, and he's going to be leading. And if you do have Johnson in there, now you have Johnson as an option. So there's a bunch of other cheap guys I think you can go to, and just don't play the guessing game. You know, with Damian Harris, he's going to get all that goal line work. Sure, maybe Stevenson steals something, but I think Harris is a way, way better play than a guy like Jordan Howard.
All right, last game. Let's do some Thursday night football here. Spread a stare from the bet side. Mangone does both. I do both, but obviously run pure sports. And right now, RPS Heater 25, 25% off your first monthly installment. What do you got for me, spread? Ravens -7.5 on the road at the Dolphins. 46 is the total. I'm pretty sure we got a likelihood of Brissett going back out there. And again, we haven't had final word on that. The injury's just starting to pile up at this point in time in the season, right? So what do you think about this game, besides for the fact that I'll be excited to watch Lamar Jackson and maybe not too much else?
Yeah, I mean, that's you nailed it on the head. And they really, as sports handicappers, they put us in a tough spot with this game, because if this game shows up on Sunday, right, I think we're easy just saying pass and moving along, and nobody watching the show would even care, and we'll move on to the games we love. Now it's a standalone Thursday night game. People are going to want to watch it. People are going to want to bet it. So we are in that situation here. So I lean towards Baltimore 7.5, but hey, we've been doing this for a while, and we know that laying points with the road favorite on Thursday night football is traditionally not a good idea. So the numbers are going to tell me to bet Baltimore. I'm not going to do that. However, I'm going to go a different angle. You talked about this total being 46. I think this is going to correlate to Miami's team total coming in around 20. Of course, we're a little worried about that 21 hitting with 3 touchdowns, but I trust Baltimore to get it done. Low scoring game, could be a sloppy affair on a short week. I like the under here overall, but I think the very best play is just the Miami team total. I think the under will come in around 20, and that's what I'm expecting. So anything under 20, Miami team total under.
By the way, different game here. I just got news that Noah Fant is expected back, so I know you asked about him. Mangone.
Makes it easier. Just that game is just a giant X.
He's
hold on. The one thing I'll say is Jalen Hurts is probably in playing cash games because he always finds his way there. Yeah. We should have probably talked about that, but I think I'm going to find another route this week than Jalen Hurts in cash games. I wouldn't talk someone off it, but I think I'm going to try and look for a different route.
All right. What about the showdown here? So Lamar is going to be the favorite and the captain. Marquise Brown probably number 2. What do you want to do here?
Yeah, so I'm probably I do my best at Showdown. It's probably not my strongest, but I'm getting a lot better. And I think listen to Big T, listen to Tampa, listen to JSU tomorrow. They're going to be giving you a nice show for that. But I can talk about it a little bit. And this is one where one thing I've been doing a lot of in my strategy, and I kind of got away from it, which I'm pretty mad about on Monday Night Football, was I've been playing like 4-2 stacks of the underdog. So whoever the dog is, I play 4 of them. I play 2 of the favorite, because a lot of people just don't do that. Because good luck finding 4 Dolphins to get really comfortable playing. It's just a bit gross. So I think I'm going to play 4 Dolphins. The question is, which Dolphins will I play? If you want to just be unique instantly, Holden, you can X one player from the entire player pool, and you can just play all the good plays from there. You can X out Lamar Jackson. I'm not saying it's smart, but I'm just saying he is going to be like 90% owned. Everyone's going to play him. They just are. Everyone is going to have him. It is football. If you did X a Lamar Jackson, what would you do? You'd probably play Devonta Freeman as a leverage play. I don't think that's the route I am going to go, though. One other strategy I've been playing, which has been good, is I've been Xing out one of the quarterbacks. That's been one of my strategies. I'm going to try and make it Tua, but I want to see what ownership is. I'm wondering if people are going to play Tua. Typically, everyone just loads in 2 quarterbacks if they can, but they haven't really been doing it as much, and they haven't been playing him in the captain. So one thing I think you could do that would be really sharp, Holden, is maybe playing Tua in the captain spot and then playing Lamar still in the flex. And I think you're just really unique there, playing like, some sharp plays. You're obviously not going to be able to get up to some of these other options. It's going to be tougher to get up to a Mark Andrews, Marquise Hollywood Brown. But if you are playing Tua in the captain, you know what that does? That kind of tells you the game script is that they are losing, and you can pair it up with some of their receiving options. And if Tua is in the captain spot, say he is the winner, obviously you're going to need a Waddle, a Parker, a Gesicki, at least probably two of them, maybe even a Gaskin. And then if you play two of those guys on the Dolphins, you won't need a Hollywood Brown. You don't need a Mark Andrews. And I think that's a really good route that you can go on this slate, Holden. That's kind of where I'm looking at. I've been playing that strategy a ton. I got away from it a little bit recently. I'm kind of annoyed at myself with doing that, but I do think this week I am definitely going to look to play 4 Dolphins with 2 Ravens and see how it goes. It's going to be hard to ignore Lamar from the captain. I think he's a really good option, but a lot of people are going to do it. So there's a lot of game theory that goes into it, and we'll have to see. And there might be a little bit of weather, so check for that too. Obviously, Miami can randomly rain for a little bit and get real nasty. Who knows? It should be a fun time.
And then we'll know about Tua probably about an hour and a half before game time. So just keep that in mind when you're building your showdown lineups tomorrow. So
one last thing to mention with Tua is Tua is only $400 more than Jacoby Brissett.
Yeah.
So don't think you're getting sneaky with like a backup quarterback at the 6K price tag. He is only $400 difference, and it's really going to test your bankroll if you're really going to see Tua go in there and just say, you know what? I'm going to hope that Tua is terrible or gets hurt, and I'm just going to go only $400 less. Like, you are not getting a discount. Tua is 10.2 and Brissett is 9.8. I don't know if that's in the captain or the regular flex, but you're not getting this discount playing some random backup quarterback. So that's going to be kind of funny to see if anyone goes with that after the Mike White experience the other day.
All right. The overwhelming majority of people watch this show on tape. Is that what they call it now? Not live. But for those of you watching live, the free NBA show, the NBA Hardwood, coming up at 4:45 Eastern, titled DCAP. And then like we do every day, except for yesterday, because I think tomorrow too, we don't do the 3-game slates with the team. So we'll have me, JSU, and Tony on the NBA Final Countdown today. That comes up from 6 to 7. Be on the lookout for the Old Guys Pod, the Wishbone. We'll get that out there. We had a good fun time last night. And then I'll be taping the NFL Spread Pod with Title and Rubio tonight as well. Spread, one more plug for the bet side, buddy.
Yeah, and if you guys are interested, the first look of DFS we do at Run Pure Sports, of course, is when we do the NBA rundown that I will be starting in 35 minutes. So go ahead, head on over there. If you go to my Twitter at SpreadAstare, I tweet out the link every single day. We get a great chat. Oftentimes, it gets undone, all the stuff that we talk about by the time they're on the Up to Lock show. So, of course, you do need to be a member on both. But yesterday, Travis and I had a pretty good run there with the 3-game slate where we had most of the injury news earlier, able to build a very strong core and, of course, have a lot of fun. Then you also get my plays, leans, props from Tyler. So much fun we have on the NBA rundown. I mean, Run Pure Sports just crushes the NBA. We start at 3:30 Eastern, 12:30 Pacific, and run you all the way to lock with pretty much constant information on the bet side, on the DFS side, and of course, props and totals. So go ahead, check us out here. I don't think you'll be disappointed with all the great information we have. So make sure you're heading on over to runpurebets.com. If you're already a member on the DFS side, check us out, man. Come over. It's so much fun we have in the Discord, and of course, giving you out the winners daily. So thank you for having me on today, Holden. So much fun talking football with you guys.
You got it, buddy. And Mangone, let's see here. We got a 13-game slate tonight. Holy shamoly. And then I don't know if we really got anything on Thursday. We might not. This season's been interesting in the NBA again. Yeah, we got a 3-game slate tomorrow. So no Up to Lock show. We'll do the free hardwood show. Mangone, good to see you. Spread, good to see you. Simon, thank you so much for running things behind the scenes. We appreciate it. And we'll catch you later. So Simon, get us out of here, please.